of just a local shop where you can work on anything.
Yep. Freaking Volkswagens.
I know they actually promoted me to shop foreman, so they put me on hourly, which was good. So I did that for a year, and then they said, "Well, we're going to change your pay. We're going to put you back at flat rate, but we're not going to change your job." Like, wait a minute. So I'm the guy that goes on test drive with the customer. I don't get anything for that. Any of the other 15 guys in the shop needs help. I'm the one that's supposed to help them. I don't get any of that. Nope. I'm see ya.
Yeah, no.
That's when I came to Vatctor.
Yeah.
So, all right, it's 1 o'clock. We'll get going here. All right, guys. We're gonna get started here again. We're gonna pick up where we left off, the bottom left on page 15 of that worksheet. I just want to, as always, anybody have any questions that we've covered so far? If not, we'll pick up where we left off. We'll get back to Matt, and we'll get rocking. We'll get going here. So let's see, we're on top, the bottom, page 15 on the worksheet. Okay, we finished up the water section there. So we can go back to the functions page, and then we're going to look at the hose reel screen. So again, we can look at any of those functions screens. We just went into the hose reel. The first question there is, are there any green boxes that come on when you move the hose reel joystick in both directions? So as he moves that joystick, there's pay in, he moves it to pay out. You got the green boxes. So it's seeing that movement of that joystick. So yeah, you see the panel input. If he was using the wireless, it'll say wireless. The system, okay, yeah, he's changed that now. Oh, you're in road mode, okay. Yeah, remember how I told you guys, if you're doing diagnostics on this stuff, you want to be in jet mode. You can be in combo mode if you want. But yeah, he went to road mode. You don't get that, didn't get that output. The system wasn't even looking at it. So make sure you're in jet or combo mode. You can see he's changed it to jet mode. We're getting the input. The input from the panel, from the joystick. The system's seeing it's looking at the right controller. Turning on the output. The output is the directional valve for the movement of the hose reel, pay in or pay out. Yeah, that's the output. All right, rotate. Nope, wrong line. Sorry, guys. Hose reel extend retract buttons, or is there any green boxes that come on when the hose reel extend retract buttons are pushed? So you can see the green boxes. He's pushing the buttons on the controller on the setup button pad for the hose reel extend and retract from the front bumper. Pushes those. The panel inputs what's looking at the system saying, hey, we're pushing the correct button. Turns on the output to extend that hose reel out or retract it back. All right, next question. What is the hose reel speed knob value? So on the right of that, that first line there, right now it's at 0. This is that potentiometer for the hose reel speed. Clockwise, you get faster speed. Counterclockwise, you get lower speed. When you, let's see, yeah. So you crank that all the way up, 99%. Go back down to the lowest speed is 0%. Okay, when you move the hose reel joystick in both directions, what is the max hose reel speed current you can achieve? Okay, so hose reel speed current is the next line down, 944 milliamps. Okay, that's the max you can achieve, and then the lowest. Well, there's 250 milliamps. Okay, that's with the joystick at rest right now. Okay, and then the last question, does the max value change with the position of the hose reel speed knob? So if he pulls that joystick all the way to the end of the travel, then he can rotate that potentiometer and that max value is going to change. Okay. So now we're basically, that output is looking at both potentiometers and the joystick and the knob itself. Okay, that current, what we have now is 250 milliamp. That is the current that's going to the proportional valve to send the flow out to the, well, it actually goes from the proportional valve to the directional valve, then out to the motor. And we'll look at that in the when we get to hydraulics next. So we're actually controlling two valves to get the hose reel movement. All right. That's all the questions on the hose reel screen. So we can go back out of this and go to the boom screen. The boom's right there, touch that. Okay, the first question, move the boom joystick in each direction for each of the boom movements. Do you see green boxes for each of the boom movements? So as he goes up, down, left, right, extend, retract, all that, yeah, you should see the green boxes. You can see the column for the panel. So it's looking at the joystick on the control panel. The system is looking at the correct switch, and all that's good, so the output is turned on. That green box turning on sends out the voltage to the bang bang valve for the actual movement of that. You know, like boom up. That boom up output comes on. That's sending the voltage. I believe it's 12 volts to the bang bang valve to open up the valve to raise that boom up. Same thing for down. That green box comes on. That's the output from that controller, goes to that valve to open up. Now we can lower that boom. So that's what those green boxes are. Okay, next down, move the boom joystick for each boom movement and note each of the target flow and actual flow values for each of the boom movements. So on the right side of that screen, you can see that first line target flow. Right now, he hasn't, the joystick is centered, so there is no movement. So boom up is 1,000. The target and the actual is 1,000. Okay, so let's go through all the movements here. So up was 1,000. Each of those were 1,000. Down is 700 milliamp. The target and actual both 7. Extend 1,400. The target and actual. Retract is 830. Yep. Target and actual. And then left, 750 milliamp target and actual. And the right is 750 milliamp target and actual. Okay, what that is, again, for the boom movement, we're controlling two valves. Okay, we got the bang bang valve on the left of that screen. Then that target and the actual is controlling a proportional valve. Okay, and when we get to the hydraulics, I'll show you these valves also. So you saw each movement had a different value. Well, we have different sizes cylinders. We've got the piston side. We got the rod side. You know, inside those cylinders. So each movement is going to need a different amount of hydraulic flow. Okay, so the target and actual those values is milliamps. So we want that valve to open up more for more flow. It's going to be a bigger number. If we just need it to open up a little bit for like boom down, 700 milliamp, it's so we'll open up a little less. The target value is the value coming out of the controller. That is set in the program. There is no changing on that. So each of the movements, like the up was 1,000. That's in the program. So when you hit that joystick up, it sends out 1,000 milliamps going to that proportional valve. The actual is what's being measured going back to that controller. So there, right there, you have your amp meter. So if you're having a problem with the boom movements, you want to know what milliamps that circuit's doing, you don't have to get out your meter. It's right there. Uh, that actual is, like I said, what's coming back to the controller. That value could be different if there's a circuit issue. So if this truck is running the target, it's going to be flat on. Again, boom up is 1,000, so it's going to be 1,000. It's in the program. That's what it's going to be. Coming back, that actual is what's coming back. That's actually as the truck's running, it's going to float around pretty close to that 1,000. It might be 1,050 to 950. It's going to float around. If that value is way off, like instead of 1,000, you're seeing 100 milliamp, you've got a circuit issue. Usually it's a bad connector, wire's ready to break, or it could be the coil itself, that valve. All right. The other thing, well, one thing I want to point out before we get to the next page is right below you see the target and actual values. Right below that you see the deadband, the joystick XY deadband 50%. The theta deadband, they're all deadbands, is 50%. When we get to the joystick screen, we'll explain what those deadbands are. But I just want to point that out to you so you know what that is. But we'll explain that deadband a little bit later. All right, top of page 16, boom screen continued. That is if your truck is equipped with the RDB boom, rapid deployment. This one, what we have here is try to extend and retract the debris hose with the red boom joystick buttons. So this works best if you're actually doing it on your truck. Do you get a green box next to the 10x15 bladder deflate? You can see, yeah, there's a green box there. There's that 1 second delay you're going to get there. Don't forget about that. But does the green box turn off after you release the button? Okay, he just let go of the button there. That green box, that deflate, is staying on. Okay, there's like a 7-second timer before it turns that output off. Okay, again, as technicians, just so you're aware of that. Yeah, how long until the green box turns off? I guess we could have timed that, but it's somewhere around 7 seconds, something like that. And then what are the target and actual flow values for the debris hose in and out movements? So if he hits the hose in, 800 milliamp, and the hose out is 800 milliamp also. Well, I kind of expect the values to be the same there because we're rotating a hydraulic motor. So there's no cylinders or rods in there or anything. So, all right. So that's all of our boom movements. So if you have a boom issue, there's a screen to go to. But like I said, the left is the outputs to the bang bang valves on the boom manifold, and the target actual is controlling the proportional valve on the main hydraulic manifold. And we'll show you those when we get to the hydraulics PowerPoint. All right, let's back out of this and go to the hours and cycle screen, the upper right of page 16. So first question, what are the rotor pump hours? Rotor pump that's 8.1 hours. What are the PTO A hours? 55.1, and PTO B hours 40.3. Okay, just a quick note there. If you caught that the hours were different, usually, normally, when you start the truck, go to jet mode or combo mode, both PTOs come on. We got that hydro excavation mode, turns off PTO B. Well, that's why you could have different hour numbers there. All right, so for maintenance, if you need hours on certain components, there's that resource there for hours for maintenance. All right, on the right side of that screen, there's Events tab. So you can come here, and if different events will accumulate here. So that first one, what are the values for the following? The blower over temp events. We've over temped the blower 6 times on this. The hydraulic over temp events. Hydraulic over temp, okay, 16. And then the hydraulic warning events is 26. Okay, again, this display we can manipulate. We can set error messages, things like that. So hopefully you don't have that many values on like the blower over temps and hydraulic over temps and stuff on your truck. But if you're curious how much it's happening, you've got that screen there to reference. All right, let's go back out of this. Bottom of page 16, AccuCounter counter screen. Right there. Okay, what is the hose diameter? 1.5 inch. What is the hose length? 9,720.0 inches. Okay, and of course, what all these values, most of the values could be different on your truck, though. You know, like the hose length could very well be different. What is the hose reel width? 20.9 inches. How many wraps per layer? 13. And what are the total layers? 7. All right. Basically, all this information on the screen is what the footage counter looks at to keep that footage counter accurate. So it knows all the diameters of the hose reel, knows the diameter and the length of the router hose. It knows how many wraps, how many layers. If you think about it, the outer layer, footage-wise, is going to be longer than what the hose is at the center of that hub. You know, I've never really measured it, but let's say the outer wrap is 1 revolution is 5 feet. You get down to the middle of that hub, now 1 revolution is 3 feet. I'm just throwing out 2 numbers there. I don't really know. But it knows all this information to keep that footage counter accurate. All right, let's see. Next, the last question, or the last question, I guess. Can you adjust the footage counter settings through this page? Yeah, Matt's pointing at there. Adjust the settings. Okay, you can go in here and you can change all those values. But the only one you should ever change is the hose length. When we fixed the hose this morning, was it, or last night? You know, I told you if you cut off a chunk of hose or added a chunk of hose, this is where you change that value. And it's just like what we did with the clock, how you change that value. Hit the plus or minus. If that value is going to change, and right above there you have that value in the parentheses, that's where we started at. If we want to keep that value, hit the check. If you want to go back to the value in the parentheses, hit the X. But like I said, the only value you should ever be changing here is that hose length if you add a chunk of hose or cut off a chunk of hose. If you change these values, that footage counter is not going to be accurate. All right. Okay, let's go back out the top of page 17. So yeah, back to the system. Go to the modules tab. Yeah, system information, module tab on the right. Now this is everything on the CAN bus on the truck. You got the front display, cab display, MC41, 43, XC10, all that stuff. All that's on the CAN bus. You can see even the fuse panel is on there. We can go in there and I believe we do go in there and look at a couple things. So top of page 17, first one, front display. So top right. We're not going to go into every one of these, but we're going to go into enough where you're going to have a real good idea of what the other ones are. So here we're just looking at inputs and output to this controller. So we're at the front of the display. First question, what is the hose reel speed pot input value? So that very first line, or the second line, 4,953 millivolts. Okay, we looked at that earlier where we looked at the percentage where that potentiometer was at on the control panel. If he moves that, you can see that millivolt is changing. So again, we're just looking at another, or we're looking at the input, but we're looking at voltage instead of percentage. All right, yeah, while turning the hose reel speed pot, what is the minimum and maximum value? So that's our minimum, I assume, Matt, 600 millivolts. And then the max was at, yeah, I would say, I thought it was 4,973-ish. So that's the max value. Again, that's millivolts. Okay, that's actually what's going in the input there. Next question down, what is the water pump off switch input status? So you see him using the buttons that's outlined in blue. Okay, so the water pump off switch input, you can see is false. What is the status of the water pump off switch input with the switch pushed to the off position? Right now it's false. He pushes that, it changes to true. That is a momentary switch, so it's just going to go to true as he's holding that switch. Okay, let's go. That switch goes back to false. Again, we're seeing that input from that switch. Okay, let's see. Next question, what is the connector and terminal of the water pump off switch? Okay, you can see that he's got it outlined in blue. To the left of that, C2, 10. Okay, this MD4 has two connectors, the C1 and C2. So this wire is going to the C2 connector to the back of that MD4 screen, terminal 10. It's also at the bottom there. You can see MD4-70, but then it says pin C210. Again, there's your C2 connector, terminal number 10. So some good information there for you if you're curious what input that is. So let's say you hit that switch and it doesn't go to true. Okay, where do I check? What do we do? You've got that there instead of digging out the schematic. You know which wire it is. You can go back there, check for voltage. Okay. All right, makes sense to everybody? Let's do this, Matt, real quick. The address. Let's go ahead. Let's look at the address on this one, Matt. Address, you see he just highlighted that, address 0. Okay, where else you see that is up there where it says top of the screen MD4 and then the parentheses is 0. That's the address. Okay, some of our schematics you're going to see that address, just so you know what that is. And then also that will help you out. Let's go back out and look at the in-cab display. Look at that address. Yeah, the in-cab. The address on that 2. Okay, you look at the top of that screen, MD4. Like I said, both screens were the MD4, but that address is 2. So sometimes you might see that address MD4 0 and 2. That's going to help you determine which MD4 it is. All right, and to help you out a step further, you just see that address and okay, MD4 address is 2. Is it the cab or is that the hose reel? I don't know where. I don't remember. Make it easier for you. Okay, the front of the truck, you're starting at 0. Go back, in the cab is 2. You know how numbers go, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Start at the front of the truck is 0. As you go back, that values go up. That's how I remember which one's which, 0 or 2. So, all right, just want to throw that at you. That's going to come up here pretty soon, but I kind of like covering it with the MD4 better because it makes more sense. All right, next down on left of the page 17, go to the joysticks. Yep, touch that. Move the hose reel pay in out joystick. What happens on the screen? You see the blue bar moving up and down. So let's see. Yeah, next one. Move the hose reel speed, pace speed potentiometer. What happens? That dial moves along with what you're doing on the potentiometer itself on the controller. Can you move that again, Matt? There you go. So it moves just along with the same. Move the boom joystick in each direction. What happens on the screen? So when you move the joystick, you get the blue graph along with how far you've moved the joystick. Okay, so if you've got something that one movement doesn't work, quick screen to go into, make sure you're getting that. Okay, the red buttons will show up, left, right, up, down, extend, retract. You get all those. All right, so pretty good diagnostic page if you have a joystick issue. With that, if I could hand that off to Matt and let him explain the deadband that we talked about before lunch, just so you can understand what that is and what we're talking about there.
This is the easiest way to try to explain this is to do it while looking at the screen. So we've tried this a few times. It just gets real confusing. So I want to start this off. We're gonna work on the hose reel pay in, pay out first. So if you guys have not operated this yet, this will be the first time you've ever seen or heard this. If you've actually spun the hose reel either direction, you already know that I can move this joystick just a little bit and that hose reel should move just a little bit. If I move it all the way up, I should be able to go as fast as I want based on how high I have my hose reel speed set to. Let's just refer to this as like a governor or a limit or whatever, the speed control. So I can get a variable potentiometer right here, right? You can see it on the screen. If I move just a little bit, I get just a little bit. If I take it to the full swing, I get all of it. But my max speed will be limited to whatever this potentiometer is set to. So I usually like to call it a governor. So this will be what I set the speed to, and then this is how I'll operate it. So instead of trying to, throttle it to try to keep it right where I'm wanting while I'm reaching around the hose reel and I'm dragging and pulling and pushing and making sure that the hose is getting wound correctly onto the hose reel, instead of doing this and inevitably my hand starts bouncing all over the place, I speed up and I slow down based on what my other arm is doing. I just like to pick my speed based on my potentiometer and then just hold it up and then just push it against the stop. That's my preference when I'm running the truck, just so that way my right hand no longer has to think. So I can then do whatever I need to with the hose with my left hand, or watching down the hole, or eyes and ears is the water spraying. What does it sound like? I'm just taking one function away to limit just how distracted I can be. So it is variable on the joystick, but ultimately we are limited by how fast it will go based on how fast we turn our hose reel speed. So I can see when we're winterizing, we're going to have it up in the super fast range, just unwinding it and unwinding it. But when we're actually paying in or out, we're probably going to be somewhere in this range, just because it's controlled and, well, you can actually react to whatever's going on in that range. So it is adjustable, so it's variable on the joystick, but limited by the speed potentiometer. This is where this becomes a little tricky. So as you can see, this appears to be variable. If you've operated any boom that we have, you know that that is not true. So we talked about that deadband. That's the first thing we'll talk about. So I'm going to get real quiet. I want you guys to listen. You should be able to hear the click. I'm going to do it real slow, and hopefully you guys can see about the point where it turns on. You can hear a click. That look about halfway, maybe a 50% deadband. Yep, that's exactly what that is. So this works out really good if we were standing at a truck and I was able to do this, because usually what I end up doing is I start talking and I'm looking right at you and I got your attention and I'm going up or I'm trying to go right, and inevitably I start turning this knob or I lean a little bit. And so the whole idea is that we want it to be at least a 50% of an input before we consider it an actual input. So right there I have the boom's going up, but it is showing left and it is showing extend. But it's not extending or going left, it's going up. So that's what that 50% means, because if it's not perfectly centered, it'll start appearing as it's a variable input, and it is not a variable input. That milliamp flow that we talked about, the 1,000, the 750, the 800, the 1,400, all of those different variable milliamps, that is what we are setting our proportional valve to. So we limit that in the programming. That is how much flow that proportional valve is allowing to flow through the main manifold up to the bang bang valve, so the boom manifold, the one that's on the oil tank, at the top of the oil tank, right next to the side eyes for the level. That's the boom manifold. Those valves just open and close. That's it. They don't control flow. They just, well, I shouldn't say it like that. They do control the flow ultimately. It's either yes or no. The proportional valve controls how much flow goes to that valve. So we don't get an act. So it hasn't actually asked for anything yet. When we get to that 50%, click. We just opened the proportional valve up to 1,000 for up, and then we opened the pop or the bang bang valve. We opened it to go up. Right? So go below the half, everything turns off. I am not able to adjust the speed by how far or how much or how little I move the boom joystick. However, the buttons, that's pretty simple, on and off. This is what we want to call a CAN system. Power, ground, and CAN. So if it has communication, if it shows up here at all, we have CAN communication. If it shows up at all, we have power and ground. Without it, this module will be told on by the display. The display will say, hey, something's wrong with your joystick. It's not working. Majority of the time, what we have seen so far is it will say there's something wrong with the joystick. It's not in the home position. We have seen them show something like a straight down, and you look down at the joystick and it's sitting in its center position, and you're like, and then you move it and everything else shows up, but it always shows down. You're like, oh, I guess there's something wrong with the joystick. It's not a guess. You're right. You come to this screen, you just diagnosed your joystick. We had another one this one was actually really good. It's in our cabinet over there. It was doing something like this, just sitting still. It was the craziest thing I'd ever seen. Ultimately, it was an early revision of this joystick, and the water was able to get into it, and it was just freaking out all over the place. We took it apart, and there was water in it, and so once it dried out, we've plugged it in since, and it seems to be working just fine. So there have been plenty of revisions on this joystick. So if you get one that's doing something crazy like that, and then you look down at it and it's not moving, this is the most accurate way you're going to diagnose it. If it shows anything on here, that means we have power and ground and CAN communication. Whatever it says it's doing, if you're physically looking at it and it's not doing that, I'm going to say that joystick's jacked up. Replace it. Pretty simple process. Same would go with just about all of the stuff on the front control panel. So if you guys are used to using scan tools, that's kind of what I would refer to as a scan tool. So
Yeah.
All right, Jerry. I think we covered everything on that we normally do. So
Yep. Thanks, Matt.
I'll zoom in.
Okay. All right. Next up is the MC43. That's one of the controllers on here. So we'll go to the module screen, go to the MC43. Again, we're looking at inputs, outputs on this controller. So the first question, what is the work mode input value? Work mode input is false. Road mode input value is the line right below, is true. So we're in jet mode. Okay, this is saying the road mode output or input is on. So this is coming from the ball switch. The transfer case is not shifted. So that's exactly what I'd expect. If you'd shift to combo mode, those values are going to flip, or they should flip. There he's shifting to jet mode, and now you can see work mode is true, road mode is false. All right. Next question down, what is the boom flow output value? So scroll down a little bit more. I don't remember how far down it was. There you go, boom flow output. Right now it's a 0. Move the boom joystick in each direction. So as he moves that boom joystick in each direction, we're going to get the milliamp values. Do the values match what was recorded from the boom screen earlier? It should be the same thing. Again, that's what the output's doing. All right, so just another place to look at the same value, but it's just a different screen. All right, next question. What is the road mode output value? So scroll down a little bit further. Now this is the output. Road mode output value. There you go. Road mode output value is true. And then the work mode output value is false. Again, we're in jet mode. So I would expect road mode to be true and work mode to be false. If we shift that, those are going to flip. There you go. We just shifted the transfer case. Okay, so now work mode is true. Yeah, work mode is true. Road mode is false. All right. Do these output values match the inputs from above? Yes, they do. Or they better. All right. And then this is where we covered the address. The next question down, watch the address. We're not going to go through that again. But the address there is 2 on this one. So each module, since it's on the CAN bus, it needs an address. That's basically what's going on there. All right. Let's see, top of page 18. So let's go out of this and go to the XC10. See, first question, what is the hydraulic temp input value? So very first line, 2,785 millivolts. So that's the input from the temp sensor. Okay, what is the boom extend output value? See, boom extend output value. Again, I don't remember how far down it was. There you go. So now it's false. Using the boom joystick, extend the boom. Does the boom extend output value change? So yeah, he moves that, goes to true. So now we're looking at the output going to that bang bang valve. All right, next question, what is the boom retract output value? So boom retract, yeah, next one down. So right now it's false. He moves that joystick to retract, goes to true. What is the hose reel retract output value? Hose reel right there, you go. So again, false. He pushes that button to retract the button, it goes to true. So we're looking at the output. Same thing with the next question is the hose reel extend. So at rest, it's the that value is going to be false. He pushes the button, it goes to true. Again, we're looking at the output of that XC10 module. All right, let's go back out of this and go to the fuse panel. There we go. Are there any fuses or relays illuminated red? No. Green means good. If something was red, the fuse is popped or the relay has failed, something like that. Yeah, he just pulled the fuse, I assume. Yeah, pulled a fuse. Most of these fuses, if not every one, if it goes bad, you're going to get a message like we saw there, and you can see on the screen it's red. So, yeah, so if the circuit breaker's popped, it's going to give us that visual indication. It's going to give us that message also. Okay, he just put it back in. That fuse went back to green. Okay, turn on any work light. Did the relay turn green? So if he turns on a work light, we'll see that relay goes green. Okay, turn the lights off, and it goes back to gray. All right. So we can monitor those. See, next one down, push the fuse list tab on the right. Okay. Then we see two columns there. Fuse with relay with fuses on the left and the fuses only on the right. That just tells you what circuit's doing the relay fuse on each circuit. So that first question, what is the oil cooler relay number and fuse? So it's relay 7, fuse F16. Okay, what is the blocking valve relay number and fuse number? Blocking is all the way on the bottom, so it's relay 14, fuse 26. Okay, and then the manifold power is fuse number what? F2. And sensor power is F14. So that gives you what circuit, what relay, what fuse, and everything in that fuse panel. All right, that's everything on the worksheet. From there, it says when finished, shift the truck back into road mode, turn the key off. Okay, stay safe. So that's going through the worksheet. If you haven't gone through the worksheet, you can do that if you want. Again, this worksheet was just to give you experience pushing buttons, getting used to navigating through the screens, where information is, how to get there, find that information. And what I tell everybody is don't be afraid to push buttons. You're not going to hurt anything. The worst you're going to do is change the date, time. You could screw up the footage counter information, but it's not going to hurt the truck. It's just not going to make it accurate. There are areas in these screens where you could do a lot of damage, bad stuff, but those pages are locked. If you're doing that, you're working with someone here at Vatctor Service. They're going to give you the code to unlock that screen and get in there and do whatever needs to be done in that screen. But don't be afraid to push buttons. Like I said, you're not going to hurt anything. The worst you're going to do, change the footage counter values, change the date and time. So, all right, any questions on that, guys? A lot of information there. Big thing with the screens is if there's a message that comes up, have your operator take a picture of it so you can read through all the information on that message. Okay. All right. If there's no questions, we'll move on to the next subject then. All right. Okay. Let's next up is hydraulics. If you're following along on the PDF, that'll be page 157. Let me share my screen here. Come on, click. Oh, there we go. There we go. All right. All right, hydraulics. Right buttons. All right, some of this is going to just be a quick review here, but PTO A and B. Okay, PTO A is going to be on the driver's side, PTO B is on the passenger side. That's if you have a Allison 3000. If you have an Allison 4000, you're only going to have PTO A, which is still on the driver's side of the truck. All right, Allison 3000, you got PTO A and B. PTO A, it drives two hydraulic pumps. The front pump provides hydraulic flow to the rotor pump. The rear pump provides hydraulic flow to all the other hydraulic components on the truck. The body up, down, door open, close, the boom movements. If you have a pump off that's driven hydraulically, sometimes you get pipe racks hydraulically driven. So all the other hydraulic movements is that rear pump. PTO-B is another hydraulic pump. It provides the rest of the flow to the rotor pump. Okay, if you remember, I told you about that hydro excavation mode. It turns off PTO-B, so now this hydraulic pump is not active anymore. It's not providing any flow to the rotor pump, so we've cut that flow in half basically, and it's just providing the other pump is the only pump providing hydraulic flow to that rotor pump. All right, if you got the Allison 4000 transmission, they're all three of the same pumps are driven off that one PTO. Front two pumps are providing hydraulic flow to the rotor pump. The rear pump is providing flow to all the other hydraulic components on the truck. All right, all of these pumps are variable displacement pumps, so we can control that swash plate in there to give us more flow or less flow, hydraulic flow from these pumps. Hydro excavation mode on these trucks, and I'll show you this when we get to the schematic, but we still disable one of these pumps. Okay, like I said, I'll show you how we do that on the hydraulic schematic, but we're still disabling one of these hydraulic pumps. All right, we looked at the control. This multi-flow potentiometer is controlling the remote compensator. Okay, that potentiometer is controlling that remote compensator to move the swash plate and the hydraulic pumps that provide flow to the rotor pump. So we move that swash plate to pump more fluid from the hydraulic pumps to send to the rotor pump. And I'll show you that too on the hydraulic schematic here in a minute. The other pump that pumps the hydraulic fluid to all the other, basically it just goes to the main hydraulic manifold. The hydraulic flow from this pump is going to that main hydraulic manifold. This is a variable displacement pump also, but that swash plate is staying pretty much flat, straight up and down until we move a component, raise the debris body. When we do that, it sends a load sense line, our load sense signal, to the load sense line, 1/4 inch line right here in the upper left of that picture. It sends that signal to this pump to move that swash plate so we get more flow out of that so we can move whatever we're trying to do, open the door, raise the body, whatever, move the boom. All right, the hydraulic schematics. Okay, we got PTO-A on the left here, PTO-B on the right. Okay, the front pump on PTO-A, hydraulic flow to the rotor pump. PTO-B, that second pump, flow to the hydraulic pump, or to the rotor pump. Okay, in the upper right is a remote compensator. So with this flow, we can control that swash plate in the hydraulic pump to give us more flow or less hydraulic flow. So we're pumping more or less hydraulic fluid to that rotor pump. That rotor pump is 1-to-1. So we send more hydraulic flow to the rotor pump. It's going to give us more water flow from that rotor pump to the rotor hose. Okay. You can see the PTO-A is connector C30. Connector, our PTO-B is connector C36. You hit that hydro excavator mode, that tab on the screen in the cab, it turns off connector C36. So now this PTO doesn't even turn. It's not driving this pump anymore. Okay, that's how we cut that off. We just turn off that control to that connector. So we're not turning that PTO anymore. Hence, the hours aren't going to accumulate on that PTO. All right, if you've got the Allison, the second pump on PTO-A, it just sends flow to that main hydraulic manifold, and we get the top center of the schematic. You can see that's the load sense signal coming from that manifold to move that swatch plate, so we get more flow out of that pump to move whatever we're asking to move. Then if you got the Allison 4000 PTO-A, there's that connector C30. All the hydraulic pumps are right there together. Okay, the front pump to the rotor pump are this front hydraulic pump is providing flow to the rotor pump. The second pump, I go and send the hydraulic fluid to the rotor pump again. And you can see the top center. There's that remote compensator. Okay, so we're controlling it just the same way as if you had the Allison 3000. Okay, so nothing's really changed. It's all the same way except all three hydraulic pumps are stacked there together. Okay, the third pump, still sending flow to the hydraulic manifold. We get the load sense in the upper right there. We get the load sense to move that swatch plate to give us more flow. Okay, how do we disable one pump? You can see right here in the top center, if you're following my red dot, connector C36 goes to that valve. We turn off that output. Doing the same thing, except we've added this valve here. Turn off that output, it closes this, or it actually opens this valve, and now we disable this. We stroke this to pump nothing, basically. So that's how we turn off one hydraulic pump there with the Allison 4000. All right. Hydraulic fan, if you've got the single engine fan, a fan unit, the hydraulic pump is mounted on the transfer case. Okay, that sends hydraulic flow to the motor, turns the motor's connected to the transmission, the transmission turns the fan. Then on the other side is the smaller pump that provides flow to the pump, to the motor for the cooling fan, for the hydraulic cooler. Okay, so that's your hydraulic pumps you have on your trucks. There is a hydraulic oil temp sensor. This is in the tank, the hydraulic fluid tank. So if you're sitting in the cab and you look back, if you can look through the silencer, you'll see this. So this is pointing toward the front of the truck. Okay, warning message when the hydraulic temp gets to 180. If the operator just keeps going, doesn't try to address why the hydraulics are getting hot, it'll trigger an e-stop at 200 degrees. All right, just so you know about that. Message at 180, e-stop at 200. You're still going to get another message too, but it shuts the truck down at 200. Quick note on this. If you get a message saying 180 degrees, first thing I'd want you to do is get out your infrared temp gun. Shoot that tank real close to where the sensor's at. If that reads, it's going to read a little cooler than if it is actually 180 degrees fluid temperature. Your temp gun there is going to read a little bit less. It might be 165, 170. So if it's close to 180, yeah, okay, your hydraulic fluid is getting hot. You shoot that and it reads 110, 100 degrees. I think I'm going to be thinking it's an electrical issue. Okay, so just because you get a warning the hydraulic fluid is hot, don't automatically assume that it actually is getting hot. Find out first, what's it really doing. Get your temp gun out and shoot it. Okay, if it's really getting hot, then you got to figure out what's causing the heat of the hydraulics. If the hydraulic temp is not really hot, not hot enough to trigger that message, you've got an electrical issue. So that's going to send you down a little better diagnostic path. Okay, instead of going down some bogus diagnostic path again. All right, the boom. I want to lay this out for you guys here real quick to help explain what we just looked at on the screens. So right here in the middle, flow from the hydraulic pump. The hydraulic pump, that rear pump on PTO-A is providing flow to this manifold here. Okay, this is the main hydraulic manifold. Our boom control, there's our proportional valve. Okay, we're going to see a picture of this a little bit later. But it's controlling this proportional valve. Okay, we need a little bit of flow. Boom down, it's 700 milliamp, I think, if I remember right. So it opens up a little bit. It sends flow down here, the bottom left of this manifold. It sends flow to that manifold, the boom manifold. That green box on that boom screen, that green box for the outlet, for that boom down, it opens up that valve, and now we're sending flow to that cylinder to lower that boom. All right. The other direction, boom up, we're sending 1,000 milliamps to this proportional valve. So now we're opening up that further. So now we're sending, if you're watching the bottom left of that manifold, we're sending more flow. That boom up output green box comes on. Now we're opening up this valve here to raise the boom. All right. Same thing with the hose reel speed. Let me get my pin out so I know you guys are following me, okay? The pin. So your hose reel speed, there's your potentiometer. Okay, it's not potentiometer, proportional valve. Sorry. It's the same thing as the boom flow proportional valve. So you trying to move that hose reel just a little bit, that valve opens just a little bit. You want to go really fast, that valve opens up more. We're sending flow to this directional valve. And then again, we look at the inputs when we push the buttons for the pay in or pay out. All right, so that's how we get the different speeds, and that's why we're looking at the controlling the two valves. All right, let me erase this. All right, there's our boom manifold. Okay, these are the bang bang valves we were talking about. The valves that's on there, the one all the way, that's actually toward the back of the truck. The hose reel extend retract from the bumper, the boom extend retract, the boom rotate left and right, and the boom up and down. All right, just so you know which valve that is, we're going to touch on that again. That was a telescopic boom manifold. If you got the 5x5 or the RDB, those two use the same manifold. It's really the same thing, except there's one extra valve. So instead of 4 valves, there's 5 valves here. But the same things, boom extend retract, the hose reel extend retract, sorry, and the boom extend retract, the boom hose, the debris hose up and down, the boom rotate left and right, and the boom up and down. All right, what I'm going to throw at you guys here, are you going to remember which valve is which? I'm not going to. The only one I seem to remember is the hose reel extend retract, the one all the way in the lower left of this picture. The others, I'm starting to remember more and more the boom up and down, but you're not going to remember. If you climb up there, you want to do an override on these valves, You climb up there and you remember, oh, which valve is it? I don't remember. The wires, the actually on the 2100i, the wires the connectors have a tag on it. They'll tell you what it is. Boom up, down. You can see that there's two connectors for this boom up and down. One's going to be for up, one's going to be for down. Okay, they're going to be tagged. The other thing you can do is every wire on the 2100i, that wire is stamped what that circuit is. If it's a ground, they'll say ground. If it's boom up, it'll be stamped boom up. It's going to give you some kind of verbiage of what that circuit is. So if you climb up there and you forget, there's a resource there to help you remember or help you determine which valve that is. That'll save you time from climbing down, trying to get the book out. This information is in the manual that comes with your truck, so you can find it. So that could be very handy, but if you don't want to climb down and find that book and dig through it and find this, just look at the tags or the wires. All right. I'm going to go through real quick here what all these valves are on these manifolds. And then we're going to go through the overrides of these. Actually, I think we're going to go, yeah. If we're standing at the passenger side of the truck, this is the main hydraulic manifold. Just to the left in this picture is the hydraulic fluid reservoir. The valve pointing toward the rear of the truck, that is for the boom speed. That's that proportional valve. So 1,000 milliamp to go up, 1,000 or 700 milliamps to go down. So we're opening this valve here to send flow to the boom manifold, which is upper left of this manifold. Okay. The override for this red knob, you turn that in. Now we're sending flow to the boom manifold. Now we can override those valves, which we'll get to those here in a minute, how to do that. But turn that red knob in. Now we're sending hydraulic flow to that boom manifold. Again, we can push, pull which valve for depending on which movement we want. When we're done, this note, rotate fully counterclockwise when done. There's also a slot there for like a pocket screwdriver. So when you fully turn it counterclockwise, turn it back out, give your pocket screwdriver, just give it a little nudge to lock it in place. Remember to do that. If you override this valve, once you turn that knob in, turn that red knob in clockwise, now we've lost all electrical control of this. So if you leave this turned in, there's always flow going up to that boom manifold. You try to move the boom. We have different amount of flows for different speeds. Now you're going to be unsafe movement. It's going to be going balls out. You're going to hurt something. Okay, so when you're done, make sure you turn that back out. Okay, the face of this manifold, item 1 and 2 is body up, down. Okay, you push those for that override. Item 2 is body up. 1 is body down. 3 here on the right side of that picture, that is the proportional valve for the hose reel pay in, pay out. That's just like the boom proportional valve that we just talked about in the previous slide. Okay, you turn that red knob in. Now you're sending flow to this directional valve. Item 4 and 5. There's a little button on the end of those. You push that, and now that hose reel should rotate, pay in or pay out, depending on which button you push. Okay. Item 6 is the load sense override. So this is what's sending that flow to that hydraulic pump to tell that swatch plate to move, to send flow up to this. So we can have some good movement of whatever we're trying to do. Move the boom, raise the body, whatever. And then item 7 is the rear door open, close. Okay, pull to open and push to close. All right, so that's the override of this. Back to item 3 real quick. There's a note. Yeah, there's a note here. Rotate fully counterclockwise when done. just like the boom proportional valve. If you turn that in to override that, make sure you turn that back out. That is very, very important. Again, when you turn that in, now we've lost all electrical control. So if you leave that turned in, you move that joystick, it's gonna open the bang bang valve here, and that hose reel is gonna be going balls out fast. There is no control. There's not gonna be any slow. It's just gonna be going fast. So when you're done, make sure you turn that back out. Take your pocket screwdriver, give it a nudge to lock in place. All right. What I want to do here is I'm not gonna spend a lot of time on this because you're not gonna remember all this. I want to go through this just so you know it's this. You have this useful tool if you need it. You probably by when you hopefully you never need to use this, but if you do, hopefully it's down the road, and you'll find this information in the manual. The manual that comes with your truck. You also have the PDF you can refer to also. But mainly I want to go through this so you know you have this tool to use, and that it's really just reading through it, going through this. You'll hopefully what you'll remember is I remember Jerry talked about it. It wasn't that complicated. I need to do this. So if you've got something not working on the truck, let's say, well, the first thing we have here is door open close. You have all the other boom movements. You know the PTO is turning. You know the PTO is turning the hydraulic pump. You have hydraulic flow. You can raise the body up and down, but you can't open and close the door. You can do the override. Okay, do this override. If it moves, if you can't open the door, do this override. Okay, step one, pull this load sense, the red knob, pull this out. It sends that load sense signal to the pump. Move that swatch plate. Now we get more flow. We want to open the door, so you pull this knob on item 2. That door should open. If it opens, you know you have an electrical problem. If it still doesn't work, you know you have a hydraulic problem someplace. All right, that's the purpose of the overrides here. It could be a very useful tool to determine if you're looking at a diagnostic path of an electrical problem or a diagnostic path of a hydraulic issue. All right, debris body up and down. Step one, pull that red sense override. That red knob, pull it. We're sending that load sense signal to the hydraulic pump. Now, depending on if we want to raise or lower the debris body, you got that override there. The boom overrides, we're going to go through this pretty quick because it's the same on all the movements. But step one, turn that proportional valve, turn that red knob in. Now, well, here is the hose reel extend and retract. You pull that knob, that'll extend that hose reel out from the front bumper. Push that valve down, and it's going to retract that hose reel back to the front bumper. And then when you're done, make sure you turn that red knob back out on the proportional valve. All right, same thing with all the movements. You got the hose reel extend, retract, boom, rotate, and the boom up, down. Okay, something that just hit me. Gonna put a comma right here. I want to go back some slides here, just to throw out some maintenance for you guys. I think this is a better picture. Anyway, for maintenance for you guys. Okay, since we're talking about overrides, I just remembered this. So sorry. For maintenance, what I suggest, you won't find this in any book, but coming from Jerry Smith, what will help you down the road if you have to do any of these overrides. Once a month, get up here. These are those knobs you can push or pull, okay, to do the override. Underneath that, they're sitting on the shaft, I guess what you'd call it. Once a month, get up there and give a couple squirts of oil on each of those shafts. Okay, if you don't do that, and 5 years down the road you want to do this override, corrosion gets in there and you cannot do the overrides. So try to remember once a month, get out there, give it a couple of squirts of oil. So 5 years from now, when you need to do an override, you're going to be able to move that. All right. So sorry, I just remembered that, and I just want to throw that out, you guys, to hopefully help you guys out in the future. All right, the hose reel pay in and pay out override. Again, you turn that red knob in, then you can push the button on the end for pay in or pay out, depending on which direction you want to go. When you're done, remember to turn that red knob back out, or you're not safe. It's something really dangerous there. Okay, here, let's say the truck dies. The operator ran out of fuel. It's not running for whatever reason. Maybe something else happened, but the PTO is not turning the hydraulic pump. You have no hydraulic flow to anything on this pump or on this truck. You can't get anything to move. But the operator's got that boom way out the side of the truck. You need to get this truck towed back. You need to get that boom back in the home position. There's this hydraulic jack here. So actuate this jack. It's you're gonna start moving hydraulic fluid. So if you got that boom stuck out to the side, you've got it way up off a horizontal. You need to get that back in the stowed position. Actuate that jack handle, and now you can push or pull whichever direction you need to get that boom stowed back in position, to get that truck towed or whatever you need to get that boom back in position. Okay, so that's if that truck, you lose all hydraulic flow, but you need to get that boom back in the home position. The other thing is, let's say again he ran out of fuel, or who knows, but you've got the operator's got 300 feet of line in the router hose in the line he's trying to clean. Lost all hydraulics. Instead of cutting that hose and you're losing all that, you can do this override here. That hydraulic motor, if you remember, that's on the front of the hose reel. You're going to have to take that upper cover off, take this knob, turn this back, or turn this out. Now you can physically grab the lip of that hose reel and you can physically rotate it to get that hose back out of the manhole or out of the line that you're cleaning. And then, like the yellow note says, when you're done, close that, turn it clockwise all the way to close that. If you forget that, that's not going to be a safety issue. If you leave that open, you fix whatever the problem was. Now the operator takes the truck out, tries to move that joystick. That hose reel is not going to move because the hydraulic flow just bypasses this. I could see it being a time issue for someone that doesn't know this is open. He's trying to figure out hydraulically what's wrong. So remember to close that. And then the last thing here, if you're trying to rotate that hose reel manually and you've got a lot of hose down that line, it could physically be pretty tough to rotate that. So we do have this tool here. It just clips on the lip of that hose reel, and it's 2 feet long, so it just gives you a little bit more leverage. So, all right, that's going over some hydraulics pretty quick there. Any questions with that, guys? All right, let's next up, we're 214. We'll see how fast we get through this one. Let me share my screen here. Okay, we're going to just get into the introductions of the electronics on these. Okay, let me get my laser pointer out. I like to have this handy. Okay, again, if you have questions as we go, just unmute yourself and ask something. As you know now, there's two screens, the MD4 screens on these. There's 3 controllers. There's the XC10. That is mounted on the passenger side of the hydraulic tank. There's the MC43 that's mounted on the driver's side of the hydraulic tank. And then there's the MC41 mounted on the back of the hose reel. Okay, that's our main controllers, the two screens and these three controllers here. All right, so the location of those, I just call those out. The hose reel screen, the cab screen, the XE10 on the passenger side, the MC43 on the driver's side. There's the MC41 on the back of the hose reel. Okay, the wireless receiver, that's on the CAN bus also. There is a possibility of another XC10, but that is only if you have the water recycler option or the vac on the go option. That's the only two times you'll see the other XC10, which is mounted right there next to the MC43. Okay, I told you guys what the vac on the go option is. The water recycler option, again, some of you dealers may have seen these, but they're getting more and more common. But what that option is, it's a big contraption on the back door on these. Basically, we're taking fluids from the debris body, we're filtering it, we're sending it through a filter, and then send it to a tank, and then we're reusing that fluid instead of using fresh water. We can use that water recycler. We can run all day. I've had engineers tell me they run all month without filling the tanks with fresh water. They're just taking the fluid from the debris body, filtering it, sending it back through the rotor pump, out the nozzle, and cleaning the lines. So that's what the water recycler is. All right. So again, just everything on the CAN bus. The only thing I didn't mention on that previous slide is all the control buttons. There's the setup and the vacuum. On the controller, there's the body controls, body up, down, door open, close. The joysticks, they're on the CAN bus. The wireless receiver we talked about, and then the relay, or the fuse and relay panel. G11, okay, that's on the CAN bus. What that is, the G11, and I'll show you where that is. Well, here, there's that G11. Okay, what that is something that engineering's working on still. That is so you can use an iPad or your iPhone, and you can link up to the truck, and you can look at information. Again, like I said, that's something they're working on. I think they've got an app out there right now that I don't have access to it yet, but they're looking at that. I know they had something they used for a while, but they didn't like it, so they booted that. Now they're looking at a different one. So that's what that G11 is. It's just a Bluetooth, what that is. The fuse and relay panel, Mr. Firm, a multiplex rear fed fuse and relay module. What that Mr. Firm stands for. The wireless receiver, we looked at that earlier. Inside that's the main relay. So when you turn the key on, it latches that. It sends battery voltage to one side of that fuse and relay. One side has got battery power all the time, and then the other leg is just got battery power when you turn the key on. Latches that main relay, sends that battery voltage to the fuse. We've got the e-stop relay. That's where that's located at. And then the last thing in here is the ground bus bar. Everything on the Vatctor side is grounded right here on this bus bar. Okay, some of these circuits, the ground goes to the controller, but ultimately the controller is grounded here at the bus bar. There is no ground as far as Vatctor side anyway. There is no ground where we'll drill a hole in the frame and run the wire to that and put a bolt in there to ground it. And there's no place where we do that. It's all grounded right here at this bus bar. And then there's the battery ground. The battery cable is attached to that. Okay, the multiplex rear fed fuse and relay module. We've talked about that already. We've shown you where that's at. But there's these decals. They'll help you determine which and find which fuse, which relays, where it's located at. We've seen this information on the screens also. All right. I want to look at some schematics with you guys real quick here. So let's say I want to, right here at the bottom, the hose reel. Okay, I want to look at this circuit. So the hose reel speed potentiometer, okay, we're controlling this proportional valve. Okay, we looked at that when we looked at the hydraulics. So that proportional valve or potentiometer on the control panel, between that and the potentiometer and the joystick is controlling how far open this proportional valve is on the hydraulic manifold. Okay, I want to look at that. Then we got the directional valves also, the pay in or pay out direction. Okay, I want to know what this circuit is. If I have a problem with what the operation of that hose reel pay in and pay out, I feel like I have an electrical problem. Okay, I want to look at this. I want to find out where all the circuits are. What should I see where? Should I see voltage? Should I see ground? Should I see 5 volts? What do I see? What should I find? This schematic here is going to be in the build ticket, and I should have time to show you pretty good how to find this and what you're going to find in the build ticket a little bit later here. But here's this electrical schematic number. Okay, just real quick, let me point this out to you. This schematic number on the bottom right of our schematics. Bottom right, you can see part number 52000 BB or whatever it was. That number right there. Okay, that's on the bottom right. So if you're looking at the schematic, you call up your dealer or Vatctor service. You're looking at a schematic, give them that number so that they can look at the same schematic that you're looking at. Also, just to the right of that part number is a revision. There's a letter there. Give them that letter also. You know, if you're looking at revision A, and there's been a couple revisions, I know the guys in Vatctor Service is probably going to be looking at the most recent schematic. It might be you're looking at revision A, but he's got revision C or D. There might be something that's off just enough that's going to confuse you guys. So give them the part number, that's the schematic number, and that revision number. So anyway, here's I'm going to leave that blown up here. Okay, here's that potentiometer. Okay, where does the wires go? It doesn't really say. What's item 3 here? The upper right. There's our parts list. Item 3, control box harness. Okay, we can get that number there. We can look up that harness. Is there others? Okay, it comes out. C1 connector is the wires going into the controller. Okay, there's item 2. There's item 1, item 24. Those are possible schematics that we could look at. Item 24 is the under cab. Yeah, I'm going to want to know that. Let's see. Item 1 is the hose reel harness. You know, so there's different harnesses we can look at to find out, follow these more. Okay. There's that front controls electrical schematic. Okay, that was item 1. Okay, so we can, well, let's blow this up just for giggles. We can blow that up. There's the boom joystick, hose reel joystick, multi-flow. There's our hose reel speed. There's our 3 connectors. So we can follow these wires, see where they go. Okay, I'm going to tell you it's going to go out this C1 connector. Okay, it still goes out someplace. I need another schematic. There's our subframe schematic. So there's more of the wiring in here. Okay, I can blow this up, but it's not gonna blow up enough to really read anything. So you have access to all these schematics, which is great. Okay, you can follow these wires, find where they go. You can look at them. You have a really good idea what they're going to do. Okay, great. You might be looking at 3, 4, 5 different schematics, depending on what circuit you're looking at. Okay, you have that access. I'm not going to bash that. Great. You have that resource. Wonderful. It could help you get the job done, get the job fixed, and get the truck going again. But something that's going to make it easier for you guys, we have a diagnostic manual. Okay, here's a diagnostic schematic. There's the number there in the lower left. Okay, but here we have, I'm going to blow this up. There's that potentiometer down here in the lower right. I don't know how well you can follow my little hand here. But we see that A7 connector. There's the connectors. We can follow the wires. Okay, it's you can see 2 of the wires go to the ICANN MD4 on the hose reel. The hose reel speed pot green. Okay, the other wire is the 5-volt power pink. That goes to terminal 3. Okay, so now there you go. I would expect 5 volts there. The other wire is a ground wire. We can follow that to see where that goes. So that green wire, that tells me that is the signal going into that display, telling us what position that potentiometer is at. Okay, the other thing you're going to find, here's our, right here's our really what we're looking at. Hose reel pay in solenoid, hose reel speed solenoid, hose reel payout solenoid. So basically what this is everything for our hose reel control is all in one schematic. Instead of multiple, looking at 3, 4, 5 different schematics, it's all laid out on one. And this is in our diagnostic manual, and I'll show you how to get to that here in a few minutes. But you've got all that information. Instead of, like I said, looking at multiple schematics, you've got the one schematic. Okay, the other thing you're going to find, I'm going to blow this up just real briefly here. All these connectors you can see here, the hose reel speed potentiometer, you see that connector has a diamond with a 9 in it. That is a diagnostic test point. Okay, in the diagnostic manual, you're going to find this schematic. You have all these diamonds. Those are test points. You scroll down a couple pages, you're going to find this, test point 9. Okay, there's that diamond lower right. 9 it gives you test point 9. A7 is that connector. Then it tells you what you should see on each of those terminals. Okay, so the terminal 1 is ground. Terminal 2, roughly 0 to 5 volts, depending on where it's at in the swing of that. And then 5, or terminal 3 is 5 volts. You should see something somewhere around 5 volts, 4.8 to 5.5. Okay, so great diagnostics there. Okay, throw one more at you. The boom joystick. Okay, the boom joystick, we're controlling that proportional valve. Depending on which movement we want, how much flow we're sending to the boom control. The boom manifold, that green box opens up to open up the bang bang valve for each individual movement. Okay, there you go. There's all your boom circuit in one schematic instead of looking at 3, 4, 5 different schematics. It's all on one. Okay, you also have those test points, like I said. Okay, test point 9, terminal A, or connector A22. There's our A22. So terminal 1, front power. Okay, front power F15. So F15 is the fuse that's coming from. It's coming from the fuse box. So I would expect 12 volts. That tells you right there. Battery voltage. So if it's running, it might be closer to 14. Terminal 2 is ground. Terminal 3 is can high. Terminal 4 is can low. Okay. Remember, Matt and I both told you now the joysticks are on the CAN bus. Power, ground, can high, and can low. So So yeah, test points there. Okay, so get that diagnostic manual. The diagnostic manual is for electrical issues on these trucks. It's going to give you a lot of good information like that. Last thing I want to show you here, we've talked about messages. Have the operator take a picture of each message. It's going to give you a lot of good information. Like this message is high hydraulic temp, analog sensor, temp sensor value 182 degrees. You're going to get the warning when it hits 180, and it'll go away at 170. So just one last time to throw it, you guys. Take a picture of the message so you can read it. A lot of good information in there. Some of these messages will actually guide you to which circuit to look at. All right. Any questions with that, guys? I'm not done with giving you information here. So hopefully you got some good information there. I have a little bit more to share with you guys. The last PowerPoint here I'm going to share, but I want to actually go online and show you guys some stuff here. As it's opening up, I'm going to throw this out to you guys. If someone has a serial number off of one of their trucks handy, and the last four of their VIN, if you don't mind sharing that with those numbers with us later, we'll actually go in and look at information on that truck. So if you got that handy, here in a couple minutes, I'll ask. If not, I've got one I can pull up. So if you want to take a minute to find that, that's okay. But like I said, I've got one I can pull up to show you that information. Okay, last PowerPoint here is the final resources. Just a little bit of information I want to give you guys here. Okay, Vatctor service. If you need to get a hold of Vatctor service, there's two phone numbers here. Doesn't matter which phone number you call, they go to the same place. The same system is going to answer it. It's going to put you into a call queue. Okay, we share this with Elgin, the Elgin Street Sweepers. So some of you, I know, again, we got a couple dealers here. A lot of our dealers has Elgin Street Sweepers also. So you may know these phone numbers already, but it puts you into a call queue. I don't remember what number gets you where, just listen to it, but it's going to be something like press 1 for Elgin service, press 2 for Elgin parts, press 3 for Vatctor service, 4 for Vatctor parts, something like that, whatever. So it'll get you whichever prompt is Vatctor service, hit that. It's going to send you up here. Ed Legner is the service manager. And he's the boss of all of us now. Matt Weaver, Kevin Lockshaw, and Darren Johnson are 3 of the guys that could answer the phone. Okay, and the Steve Anderson is a quick repair technician. He could answer the phone if he's in the office, but he's one of the guys that took my job when I left. So if you need someone from Vatctor that'll help you with an issue with your truck out in the field, Steve is one of the guys that could show up. And then Clint and then Matt Hauser is 2 of the other guys that could answer the phone. And then Tim Pratt is the other quick repair technician. Okay, and then Susan Wargo, she's the one where I told you if you email me with your name, how you want it on your certificate, and if I've seen you on camera, I've interacted with you somehow, some way, I know you've actually attended here, I'll send that to Susan. She'll put that name on the certificate and she'll email that to you. And so if you see an email from Susan Wargo, that's your certificate. All right. This is a link for you guys. Okay. This is where we're going to start getting in the hang on a second. I want to go back to this real quick. Calling Vatctor service. Just a quick note here. Your first contact should be your dealer. Okay, just so that they know what's going on with your truck. Okay, call your dealer so they know. But if you need to call Vatctor service, by all means, it's there for you. You know, if you need to, you can't get a hold of your dealer, or you need more in-depth information for whatever reason, you absolutely call Vatctor, but your first contact should be your dealer. If you're working with someone in Vatctor service with an issue on your truck, if it's pretty simple, no big deal. You just call them up and say, "Hey, I want the schematic." Give them the schematic number; they'll email it to you. Uh, but if it's something pretty complicated, they'll still call your dealer just so they know what's going on with your truck. But they'll still work with you and get it finished or figure it out and fixed. But like I said, your dealer should be your first contact. All right, here's a link for you guys. This, if you copy this, you take a picture of this. This will take you to a box account that will take you to where you can get all of our manuals, all the manuals that we have for any of our trucks: TruVac, Guzzler, 2100i, 2100 Plus, Impact, Jetter, any of those manuals. Write this out, put in the if don't do a search for this, you'll have to type it out in the address field up at the top of the page, hit enter, and it'll take you there. All right. With that, I'm actually going to take you to this place here. Let me stop sharing here. Well, actually, I guess I didn't need to stop sharing, but I'm going to do this for you guys. Let me share this. Okay, if you got that PDF of the class book that I gave you guys the link for, right here. Okay, this is the slide we just looked at on page 182. If you see my pointer there, that's actually a link. You click on that. That's another way you can get to it instead of typing it all out. You click on that, it's going to open up your internet. It's going to take you right here. Okay, here's all of our manuals. There's safety material, there's TruVac, next one down is 2100i. Okay, so any of our manuals, there you go. A quick note here, you see 2100 is the third one down. Right in the middle is that column that says updated. It was one of those manuals in that file was last updated April 3rd of this year. Okay, if he were to, let's say, right down near the bottom, you can see impact. If he were to update one of those manuals tomorrow, it's going to put that impact file on top. So don't be confused if you see that 2100i in a different location. Okay, so don't worry about that. It's just as it's updated, it changes positions. So we're going to look at the 2100i. Okay, there's all of our manuals for the 2100i. Top one is the options manual. So if you want to know more about the Vac on the Go, the water recycler, the load sense, not the load sense, but the autofill, things like that, different options. We have it in Spanish. There's that diagnostic manual I just kind of showed you guys about. Get this manual. You can go to this site, you can download it, keep it on your laptop, put it on a memory stick, whatever. But the thing I want to point out to you is these manuals get updated once in a while. So if you've got it saved someplace, come back here and check that updated date once in a while, just to make sure you have the most updated manual. All right, and then again, there's the options in Spanish. That second one down is the manual that actually comes with your truck. Okay, so you've got that access there. So you've got access to all of our manuals now. All right, any questions with that, guys? Okay, the last thing I want to show you is our service cloud. Okay, some good information here. Some of you guys probably know about this already. But we're going to go to the Vatctor homepage online here. Okay. That's our Vatctor homepage. Okay, right here on the top, it says parts and service. Click on that. Okay. That's that page. Scroll down. Scroll down. Here's our operator maintenance and service training. So here's where you can download our training catalog to find what training we do have. You can register for upcoming classes there. There's our safety manual if you want that. But I'm here to show you the Service Cloud. This could be a good resource for you guys. So click here on the Service Cloud. It's going to take you to this page. Okay. You see the login right below where it says login. It says if you have any issues with login or would like to register, okay, please send an email to this person here. Click on that. It should open up your email. If I suggest you guys register to get this, send them an email. Tell them you want access to the Service Cloud. Okay, they want to know your first and last name. They want to know your email address. So your employer and a serial number off of one of your trucks. Okay, if you only have one truck, give them that serial number. If you've got a whole fleet of trucks, just pick a truck, give them that serial number. Basically, they just want to know it's going to be someone working on our trucks. Okay, they will send you a password. Okay, your username is your email address that you use to ask for the password. So put in your email. Once you get the password, put that in there, hit login. Okay, this is a list of things that it's going to be a resource for you guys. What this is, you can have access to service bulletins, tech tips. It could be someone in Vatctor service opened a case on something that someone was working on. Someone in California was working on a boom wouldn't go up. They called Vatctor service. They worked with each other. They opened the Vatctor service guy opened up a case. They worked with each other. They got the truck figured out. They got it fixed. Everyone's happy. The guy in Vatctor service closed that case, and he had in there all the diagnostic steps and what they did to fix it. So now a guy in Tennessee has the same problem. Those two guys don't know each other. You can come in here, do a word search. Right here on top, it says search. You can do a word search. And, well, let's just see what we got. 2100, all right, boom. You can do a word search. And it'll come up with issues here, possible issues that. So you could see, again, it could be a service bulletin, tech tip, or it could be something that service worked on, be listed here. You can go in there and might be something that'll help you out. So if there's something you're struggling with, you can have access to this. Okay. Also, well, let's just click on this. Boom freeze. See what that is. There's a tech tip. Okay. RDB boom freeze tech tip PDF. Oh, I clicked on that twice now. We can open that up. There's our tech tip. It talks about, okay, what this is. I'll just explain it real quick. Early on these RDB booms, what they found is that that big rubber air seal, that big looks like an inner tube. What they found early on is there's debris in that, and that debris worked its way to that solenoid, and it started plugging up. You can see in that picture, of the upper picture there, there's debris there. It plugged up the exhaust. So when we tried to deflate that exhaust was plugged up, and we couldn't exhaust the air, so that bladder couldn't deflate, and then we couldn't move the boom. So that's what that is. So that's things you can find. The other thing here, let's see, we can, on the right here, you see that yellow box that says manuals. Okay, we can click on there. Top of the list here, we can click on manuals. Oh, looky there. We were just looking at this. Okay, so just a different route to get to this. Okay, so there's our manuals again. Whatever manuals we have available is right there. The other note I want to point out to you guys is we do again share this with Elgin. So just be cautious of that. Don't be trying to open up something for Elgin and trying to apply it to something on Vatctor or TrueVac or Guzzler. All right. The other thing, the last thing I want to show you guys here, let's see, we got 15 minutes. I think I can get through this. The upper right on this page, you can see it says, welcome Jerry Smith, Federal Signal Corporation, yada, yada, yada. I can log out there. Below that, it says electronic parts catalog. You hover over that. There's electronic parts catalog Elgin, electronic parts Vatctor. Click on that. Okay, this is where, if you've got a serial number and the last four VIN of your chassis, we can actually look at the bill ticket. Okay, does anyone have the serial number handy in the VIN? If not, I've got one here we'll look at. I think we can pull this one up.
Hey, flower, right. Got any rings for something?
You've got one?
Yeah.
I made some really good sloppy joes with
I
it.
don't see it. I got it right here.
I brought her in sloppy joes.
Stop it, Joe. Stop.
Since my children didn't need them. Jack does.
Come on, come on.
Stitch to carry some onions home with you.
Can't hear you. He's trying to learn.
What is our type of product or
right
service?
Here, right here, Jerry. It is.
It's equipment. Sales.
Oh, come on. 19-01B-18022.
Okay. And the last four of the VIN?
The last four of the VIN?
Yep.
Oh, I didn't get that. All I got was the Vatctor number.
Damn, I guess.
Yeah, we got to have the last four or we can't, it won't pull anything up.
Oh, crap.
Well, that's okay. We can go with what I have. Unless you think you can find it pretty quick here.
No, truck's out in the shop.
All right. Well, it's going to be the same thing, but let's see. 01V20631. This is actually a Joe Johnson truck, I believe. So 594. Okay. So you got the Vatctor serial number, the last four of the chassis VIN number, download attachment. Okay. We're downloading. What I'm told is this will go back to 2010, 2011. Okay, so if you've got an older truck, it's not going to be in this system. Not yet anyway. Maybe down the road it will. So if you got like a 2008, I wouldn't expect it. So this is what we call in service. This is what we call the bill ticket. Okay. What this is, I can blow this up. You can download this again also, so you can keep it on your laptop if you want. This tells us it's 2100 PD. There's our serial number.
Whole slew of
There is some generic information coming up here. But first off is the sales order. So we can blow this up a little bit more here. So when the truck was ordered, this is all the information that came with the truck. So first line tells us a 2100 PD, a blower, 18-inch, 12-yard debris body. So how the truck was built, the different options. So if there's something specific, if you're curious if your truck has, it's going to be in this list here. It's a few pages long. And you can see here on the left where it says sales code. Underneath there's a row of numbers like that first one, 5011 PSTD. Okay, that's some sales number, means something. It means absolutely nothing to me. In service, it means nothing. We have no idea. But what I can tell you that STD is standard. So if you order a 2100, all this first part It's a standard. It's going to be on every truck. From there on, it's going to be what options. You know, like that last line there, the lube manifold. That's an option. So the sales code is that 1023P. Okay, so that is an option on a truck. So you can scroll through there. That's how the truck was built. Okay, we can keep scrolling through. This line here, you can see at the very top, you can see it's 241 pages. So a lot of information here, guys. We're on page 12 right now. But this chassis information, we can see it's a Western Star over in the upper right there. Western Star, there's the chassis model. It's 2022 Allison 3000. So it's going to have 2 PTOs. The left there, we can see it's a Cummins engine. We've got the engine model, engine horsepower, RPM. So chassis information. Next up is the actual build ticket. Okay, everything on these trucks has a drawing. So the debris body, it has a drawing, gives you dimensions, things like that. The boom, the drawings for the booms. Hydraulic schematics, electrical schematics, pneumatic schematics are all in here. But all those, the drawing numbers is, hopefully you can follow my pointer, but kind of here in the middle, that's the drawing numbers for all of these components. You can see down the middle what is called out here. So let's, well, the very bottom line here, rotor hose diameter, 1 inch. Rotor hose, there's our part number. Okay, so if you want to order that a new hose, there's your part number. So this is all laid out. You can see on this page 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 lines down is hydraulic schematic 1. So there's that schematic number. So it's actually in this bill ticket, but if you want to call up Vatctor, give them that schematic number, they'll email it to you. Next one down is hydraulic schematic 2. So there's the schematic number for that. You get hydraulic 8 pump rotation clockwise. There's the displacement there. About halfway down, water flow, 80 gallon per minute, water pressure, 2,500. So if you're wondering what your truck is supposed to have, if it doesn't have that sticker on the hose reel, there's where you find the flow and pressure. We can scroll down further. I'm not going to read every line, but there's electrical schematics. Right here, kind of in the middle of the page, nozzle 1. There's our part number for our nozzles. Then the letters BBC, BFC. So there's the nozzle that came with the truck when it was shipped out of here. So all kinds of drawings. Again, I'm not going to go through every line, but we're going to go through and look at a few pages here. See, we've got 8 minutes, so we can look at a few things here. But the first bit of first few pages here is just a lot of generic information that might pertain to your truck, might not, but like this is the vacuum relief valve for a fan unit. This truck's a PD unit, so this is not going to apply at all. Like I said, this is very generic. This is your taper lock for the fan to hold the fan in place. The parts index. Okay, this is something you want to follow. This is how it's laid out. Okay, we're going to scroll down. The first thing we're going to get to is water section. So if you want to look at the electrical section, D, that gives you an idea how far down you're going to have to scroll through. Okay. After this, again, some more generic information that's probably going to be more adaptable to your truck. We actually looked at this. We looked at this in one of our slides, the different vacuum tubes. But we're going to scroll through this. Again, I'm not going through stop at every page because there's 240. Okay, so now here's that index page. Okay, you can see water section is highlighted. All the others are shaded out. So now this is going to pertain to your truck. Okay, this is the drawings for your truck. This is going to be what your truck has. So the water section, there's the plumbing for the hose, for the rotor pump. There's your water schematic, how it's all laid out. There's an exploded view of your water pump. So if you want one seal, a specific seal, if you want the water piston and the oil piston, connecting rod, the truss rod, if you want that part, it's in this drawing here. Again, I'm not going to stop at everything here, but the next section there is your hose reel section. So if you want to know things about your hose reel, part numbers, actually saying part numbers, let me stop here. Okay, here's your hose reel. I'm going to blow this up real quick here. And this is information on your hose reel. There's your part item number. So as you go through, you can see just to the left there, 29/2. That means item 29, there's 2 of them. So we can scroll down here, item 29, there's your part number, 20121U. It's a nylon lock nut, and there's 2 of them. Okay, scroll on down, that part number, that's the drawing number. So again, if you're working with someone in your dealer or your Vatctor service, give them that part number and that revision. Okay, that part number, question I get from time to time, can I order that part number? Yeah, you can. You're going to get everything on this list except that where it says reference all the way here to the right. So this first 8 lines, you're not going to get that, but you're going to get the hose reel weldment, the double sprocket hose reel. So everything that's not referenced, you will get with this part number here. Okay. So just so you know about that anyway. So there's our hose reel information. We're going to scroll through here. There's a couple other things I want to get before we run out of time here. So I'm going to scroll through this. Here's one of your hydraulic schematics. Okay, this probably looks very familiar when we were talking about the proportional valve, hydraulic flow going to the boom manifold. So if you need a hydraulic schematic, there it is. There's your other hydraulic schematic. Okay. This probably looks real familiar when we were talking about PTO, PTOB, what pumps are driven off of that. Okay, so if you need hydraulic schematics, there you go. I want to blow through this. Again, a lot of good information in the build tickets, guys. Electrical schematic is next. Here, Paul, this is something we talked about. This is that PVC tube that would accordion. So there's a drawing for that. Gives you the part numbers of all those parts for that.
They are still fighting that.
Oh yeah, yeah. So
Because
there's a drawing for that. So if you want part numbers for that, see how it's laid out. You actually have that. So anything electrical, you got the electrical schematics there. There's a schematic I'm hoping I can find pretty quick and easy here, because I got 2 minutes here, guys. I want to see if I can find this real quick.
Today's Thursday. I don't think night watch comes
This one.
It's sad.
This one. No, it's not that one.
It's like
Not that one. I believe it's this one. Yeah, here we go.
to rattle on.
So on this schematic, it's
EMT
standard
and stuff in
equipment.
New Orleans.
Standard equipment is what it's listed as. Okay, in the parts list here, just so you guys know this, the main wiring schematics on these trucks. Okay, the main harnesses are all the same on each truck. Okay, you can see here in the parts list, item 4 is the under cab harness. Okay, this schematic, you can see the part number, that's just the schematic number. That, if you're looking for that, you can find an item 4 on this schematic someplace. That is not in this build ticket. If you want that, call up Vatctor service, give them that schematic number, and they'll email it to you. But item 4, 5, and 6, I think 7, you're not going to find any place in this bill ticket. Those you will have to call up Vatctor service and say, hey, email that to me, and no problem, they'll send that to you. If you get the diagnostic manual, you probably won't need that. If you're working on these trucks a lot, especially electrical, it's kind of handy to have those schematics. But like I said, it's going to apply to every truck out there. All right. Okay. With that, we are at 3 o'clock. So let me just do one more thing here. I'm going to slide down and just find a drawing here. If my computer just slowed down, there we go. So I'm down, looks like in the options section here, the very last section. So just drawings, again, you can have lengths, diameters of locations of weldments, things like that. So all kinds of drawings, how every drawing that's used to build these trucks are in that. All right. With that, like I said, it's 3 o'clock. I'm out of time for you guys. So with that, any questions? Any final questions there before we close up for the day? I know I threw a lot of information at you guys. Hopefully you guys got a lot of good information here. I gave you a lot of resources there at the end that you can resource if you need to. So if there's no other questions, we'll call her done, call her finished. And like I said, hopefully you guys got some information.
Go ahead.
Yeah, how do you say we can watch the video again?
He said, how did he say we can watch the video?
Which video?
That one what you were seeing right now with you.
Oh,
The
that's
same video what we're watching right now.
That's not a video.
That's
That's
not
a
video.
It's a live feed, man.
Yeah, this is live. This isn't a video.
No, but I mean, like, is your recorder or something like that? I mean,
Unless you record it.
Yeah, we don't record this. It's
Yeah.
not recorded. No, it was all live as is.
okay.
Live.
I thought it's gonna be something like a recorder or something like that.
Yeah.
Okay.
No,
Recorded.
it's recorded. No,
recorded program.
no,
All right.
not recorded. Sorry, guys.
Thanks, Jerry.
Thanks.
Thanks. Any other questions, guys? If not, send me an email if you want the certificate, and if I've seen you on the camera, I'll send that to Susan. She'll send that certificate to you. And like I said, hopefully you guys got some useful information out of this that you'll be able to use, make your job easier anyway. So, all right. Thanks, guys.
All right, Jerry, I guess I'm gonna go out here and see if I can jerk the rest of this PVC and squirrely wire out of this boom.
There you go. Have a good time. You know that, hey, Paul?
Yeah.
I've got an easy way for you to do that. Matt knows what's coming. Let someone else do it.
Working on that all morning.
Okay. Thanks,
Y'all
guys.
have a good one.
Have a good one. Thanks a lot.
See ya.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks.